From the moment Meghan Markle stepped onto the Good Morning America stage, something felt different. The energy in the room was taut, expectant, more electric than celebratory. Meghan, dressed in a sleek white power suit and polished nude heels, flashed her signature smile to the audience and settled into the seat opposite George Stephanopoulos. But beneath the glamour and poise, there was tension thick enough to slice with a knife. Promoted as a lighthearted interview to discuss Meghan's new Netflix docuseries and philanthropic projects, the mood shifted sharply the moment George spoke his first words. "Meghan, welcome back to GMA," he began evenly. "You've spoken a lot in recent years about owning your narrative. Do you feel you've been fully transparent with the public in doing so?" Meghan's expression barely changed, but the quick blink and micro shift in posture revealed her awareness that this wasn't going to be a softball chat. "Absolutely, George, I've always tried to be honest about my experiences, even when it's uncomfortable." George nodded slightly, but his tone didn't soften. "Honesty is important, but your truth and the truth don't always line up. Take the letter to King Charles, widely reported, then later questioned. Or your past statements about press intrusion and palace staff, many have been disputed." A flash of irritation sparked in Meghan's eyes. "George, with respect, it's easy for people who weren't in my shoes to question my truth. My experiences were deeply personal." "But Meghan," George countered smoothly, "you've also commercialized those experiences, through books, deals, podcasts, and docuseries. So the public has a right to ask, what's real? What's performance? Isn't that fair?" The audience fell quiet. Meghan paused, the practiced confidence in her voice wavered. "I didn't come here to defend my life's choices," she said, voice tightening. "I came to discuss the new work I'm doing, projects that elevate women's voices and support underserved communities." George leaned forward slightly, his journalistic instincts in full gear. "Understood, but it's hard to separate the work from the image. When that image is shaped by stories that continue to evolve, or contradict themselves, the credibility of the work gets questioned. Some say you're leaning into victimhood as a brand." That line hit hard. Meghan stiffened. "That's offensive," she replied, her tone icy now. "Do you ask male guests if they're leveraging trauma as a brand?" George didn't flinch. "I ask all guests about authenticity. And when a public figure positions themselves as both victim and mogul, it's fair to ask how those roles coexist." The tension had escalated past discomfort and into confrontation. Meghan's eyes darted off camera, likely toward her team behind the scenes. Someone appeared to gesture from the wings, but the cameras didn't pan. "I think we're done here," Meghan said sharply, unclipping her mic. "This isn't the conversation I agreed to." George held her gaze, unflinching. "It's the conversation viewers want. And maybe the one they deserve." That was the breaking point. Without another word, Meghan stood, straightened her jacket, and walked off stage. Crew members scrambled as the camera tried to adjust. Robin Roberts, seated nearby for the next segment, looked stunned. Whispers could be heard off camera. The producers cut to commercial too late. The world had just witnessed a live, unscripted implosion. As the screen faded to black, George simply looked into the camera, cool and composed. "This is live television," he said quietly. "We'll be right back." But in those few seconds, the damage was already done. A morning interview meant to polish Meghan's public image had turned into a shocking media flashpoint, and the reverberations were only beginning. The backlash was instant. By the time Good Morning America returned from the abrupt commercial break, the internet had already exploded. The clip of Meghan Markle storming off set, her heels clicking against the floor, her mic still hot enough to catch her final, muttered, "Unbelievable," was already circulating across every major social media platform. Millions had seen the moment live, but millions more watched it on repeat, dissecting every gesture, every word, every flicker of tension in her eyes. The hashtags trended globally within hours. Hashtag Meghan walks out, hashtag George vs Meghan, hashtag truth or brand, and most notably, hashtag victim or visionary. The line between journalism and PR now blurred in the public's imagination. Inside ABC's offices, the situation was chaotic. Executives huddled in emergency meetings, trying to determine whether to issue a formal apology to Meghan or defend their anchor. But George Stephanopoulos wasn't panicking. According to several sources on set, he remained calm after the segment, sipping coffee and speaking quietly with staff, as if the firestorm unfolding online didn't concern him in the least. George knew exactly what he was doing, one producer said off the record. He's been in political journalism for decades, this was nothing new to him. Meghan expected a curated conversation. What she got was journalism. Public opinion, Meanwhile, fractured down the middle, Meghan's fans accused George of conducting a bait-and-switch ambush, calling the interview a public shaming masked as media. Celebrities like Chrissy Teigen and Jamila Jamil tweeted in Meghan's defense, slamming GMA for violating boundaries and vilifying women who speak out. But critics saw something else entirely. "She's been given every platform possible," one viral tweet read. "But the moment someone asks a real question, not fluff, she walks out. That's not empowerment. That's deflection." Even respected journalists chimed in. CNN anchor Jake Tapper posted, "We need to stop treating celebrities like sacred cows. Accountability isn't cruelty." His post received over 100,000 likes. Meghan's team moved quickly to regain control of the narrative. Within hours, a press release from Archewell claimed Meghan had been misled by producers into believing this would be a safe and constructive conversation focused on her charitable work. The statement accused GMA of violating pre-interview agreements and sensationalizing trauma. Yet even that statement drew scrutiny. Several outlets pointed out that no such agreements could be confirmed by ABC or its producers. An unnamed staffer claimed, "We never promised anything. Meghan's team tried to dictate terms, but we didn't agree to any interview restrictions." And then came the unexpected blow. ABC released the full, unedited footage online, start to finish. It showed George asking questions with firm but professional tone, never raising his voice or interrupting. The raw footage contradicted claims of an ambush, and painted Meghan's exit as calculated rather than emotional. That release shifted the tide. Polls conducted by Variety and YouGov showed a sharp drop in Meghan's favorability in the U.S., especially among independent voters and younger demographics. Meanwhile, George's reputation soared. Media experts praised his restraint and his refusal to fold under pressure. "He did his job," one commentator said. "And he did it without apology." Behind the scenes, things grew even more complicated. Netflix reportedly postponed promotional plans tied to Meghan's upcoming docuseries. A Spotify executive was quoted as saying, "We're in a wait-and-watch mode. This moment might define her next few years." To make matters worse, royal commentators in the UK jumped on the chaos. Piers Morgan aired a smug, triumphant monologue on his show, declaring, "The American press is finally waking up to Meghan's manipulation." Former royal staffers hinted that Meghan's carefully curated image might now face deeper scrutiny, from both sides of the Atlantic. Still, Meghan remained silent. No social media post, no follow-up interview, no public appearance. In George, he opened the next episode of GMA the following morning with a single, measured line, "Our job is to ask the questions, even when they're uncomfortable. That's the promise we make to you." It was a quiet mic drop, and the message was clear: the rules had changed. Meghan Markle was no longer untouchable, and George Stephanopoulos had just redrawn the boundaries of celebrity accountability, live, on air, with the whole world watching.